Everyone dreams of owning a home because it's supposed to be the American dream, right? But what if that dream is silently draining your wealth month after month? The truth is, the housing market may not be the wealth builder we once thought it was, and it might be a wealth killer. So let's talk about it. You may have heard this term before, and it is being house poor. So what exactly does it mean to be house poor? Essentially, what it means to be house poor is that your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, all makes up a significant chunk of your monthly income, more than 50%, right? And a lot of people over the past few years have purchased homes, become homeowners, right? The American dream. That's what we all want. And now they're living a nightmare because they are house poor. If you don't have any extra money to save, to invest, to use, just to have fun in your life, then what is the point of owning a home? Why do so many people aspire to be house poor? I don't think they truly understand what it means to be house poor, and they're just trying to, again, live that American dream, and they want to be a part of this society where you own a home and you're not renting forever. And I completely understand where you're coming from. And as a homeowner, as a real estate investor, as a real estate broker, I agree that owning a home should be one of the dreams that you aspire to reach, but not, absolutely not, if you're going to be house poor by doing so. Do you know how much stress that people are going through being a homeowner and not being able to just afford groceries, to afford paying their school loans, to afford even some more necessities, because they have this tremendous burden of owning a home with all of these costs that they had no idea about? That's really unfortunate. And that's the problem. A lot of people own a home and they don't truly understand the costs that come along with it. It's not just the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, and the interest. It is also the maintenance. The maintenance is huge. If you have to repair something in your home, those repair costs can be significant. And a lot of people put a significant portion for a down payment to purchase the home, and now they don't have extra money to take care of the home. And that leads us into the housing crisis that we are in now, right? There are so many different factors that are contributing to this housing crisis, but one of the biggest ones is being house poor. And it absolutely did not happen overnight. Over the last decade, home prices have shot up tremendously, but wages have not kept up with the growth of the home prices. So a lot of people, again, they're aspiring to buy a home, or you have a home right now, you're a current homeowner, and you're feeling that pain, that stress of buying within the past few years and having such high interest rates, and you bought at an inflated home price too, so now you're dealing with the consequences of that. And to make matters worse, banks are continuing to approve potential buyers for really high home prices, and that is not a smart idea. And you may be thinking to yourself, Sean, I'm already in this position, right? I don't care how we got here. I care that I'm here now. What do I do moving forward? Before we get to what you can do, before we can look at potential solutions, I really want you to understand that being house poor doesn't just mean it's a financial disaster for you. It also affects you in so many other areas of your life, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, right? It is a huge drain on your life, because when you're putting so much into finances, when you're stressed so much about having money to pay for your home, to pay for your lifestyle, there's so many other factors that come into play here, and it affects you tremendously, especially mentally, because people are thinking, what did I do wrong? I bought a home. I'm a homeowner now. I've achieved that dream that I've been striving towards for such a long time, but now I'm in a position where I can barely pay for it. And now my mental health is affected tremendously. Your relationships with your spouse, with your kids, with your family, with your friends. You go to work every day and you're like, what am I working for? You know, I can barely keep my head above water. And then to forget all those things too, and you're also affected socially, right? Because you're thinking to yourself, I, for the longest time, believed that I was on the right path. I was keeping up with my peers. I was keeping up with my friends. And now I'm in way over my head. So what am I actually going to do? And I want you to know, it's not you. It's the society at large, right? It's the society that we live in here in America that is putting us in this position, right? So you may be thinking to yourself, I'm a complete mess. How did I put myself in this position? Well, I'm here to tell you is that we have a huge issue nationwide, right? It's a housing crisis nationwide, being house poor. So everyone is always trying their best to keep up with their counterparts, to keep up with their friends and their neighbors, and they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? I know you've heard that expression before. So it's not just you, it's the society at large that we live in. And the effect is draining on the economy as well, because when you're putting so much money into just housing, you're not actually spending money and contributing to the economy in a way that we need to in order to continue to grow as a society, right? So it's a lot of different effects that just being house poor has on the economy as a whole. And you really need to understand this next part, because I am going to help you just really understand what solutions that you have. Here are some solutions, because again, you are already in this position, right? So you're trying to think to yourself, okay, what do I have to do to actually get out of being house poor? Well, the very first thing that you can consider doing is selling your home. And I'm saying this as a real estate broker, that you shouldn't have this as your only option. Please do not think that just selling your home and getting out of this situation is the answer, unless it is the answer. And I'm going to explain what I mean about that. But yes, you can absolutely sell your property. Now, there's a lot that it's involved with that, right? There's a lot of costs that come along with selling your property, and you have to make sure that you have equity in the property, so you're not going to be selling for less than what you owe. And there's so many other factors involved. But yes, that is absolutely an option for you. But I would say to make sure that's your last option. Make sure that if you are potentially going to think about selling your home, it's the last option. You've explored other things that you can do, and you found out either you can't do them or they're just not right for you. So selling is an option. Now, another option, and this is when interest rates start to come down, because again, I don't know what your interest rate is. I don't know where you bought your home, but that is a big driver for the reason why your mortgage rate is so high, right? The monthly mortgage payment that you're coming out of pocket with. So you could absolutely refi. So if you bought at 8%, and I think we're around 7% now, you can look to refi and get a point down and potentially buy another half a point or buy a full point down to get closer to 6%. So that's something that you can consider as well. But you have to talk to a lender to make sure you're making the right move. And that's very important. But if your payment is too high, then there's other things that you can do as well, other than just trying to refinance out of it. Something else that you can look into, and this is a reason why the payment again is so high, is your insurance rate. You can look into shopping different insurance carriers for homeowners insurance. Now, if you haven't done this, this is absolutely one of the next steps that you should take, because different homeowners insurance will give you different rates. So if you're paying $2,000 a year, you can potentially find someone that's $1,500 or maybe even $1,250. And I know what you might be thinking to yourself, Sean, that's only $500, $750 over the year. Yeah, I understand that, but here we are, right? We're in this position. Now we have to work through this to get to the other side. And that's one of the things that you can do. You can also look to have your taxes reduced, right? So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can go to the county assessor and have a tax appeal done. And that's probably the best next step for you. And depending on where you live, there's different times of the year that you can do that. Generally here in Pennsylvania, especially in the southeastern part in greater Philadelphia where I'm at, people generally do that around May. So they can hire an attorney or you can do it yourself. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure that you look into whatever your county is, whatever your state regulations are, and have your taxes appealed. It doesn't always work, but it is a step that you can take to reduce the monthly payment. And then this last piece, in my opinion, is the absolute best thing you can do. And you have to set yourself on a monthly budget. You have to do it. You have to look at what you're spending. Go through a month, 2, 3 months of your bank statements and really nail down where you're spending the majority of your money. Now, of course, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I know where I'm spending the majority of my money, but there's a lot of things that you're spending money on that you just don't know, right? There's a lot of auto payments that come out and you're thinking to yourself, I didn't even know I was paying for that. What the heck am I doing, right? So go through, I would say, at least 3 months of bank statements, break it down. You can even use ChatGPT really to punch in the information. All you do is copy and paste and say, hey, ChatGPT, help me create a monthly budget. Help me understand where I'm spending the majority of my money, break it down into categories so you can see, right? Entertainment, Netflix, Amazon Prime, food, right? Are you eating out? You have to set a realistic monthly budget, because if you do that, you're going to understand, again, where your money is going, and then you're really going to understand what you can cut back on. And then you have to stick to the monthly budget. If you stick to your monthly budget, in a few months, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you're going to start saying like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. You know, I'm not putting out all this money for all these things I don't need anymore. And I'm telling you this, mortgage rates will come down eventually, right? So if you choose to not refi now and you stick to just the monthly budget and you try to appeal your taxes and you shop insurance carriers, that's absolutely great. But then you can eventually refinance and get a lower rate, maybe later on in 2025 or maybe even in 2026 when rates are going down, because that is the killer. I know that. I know interest rates are a huge reason why people are paying so much for their mortgage. So absolutely try your best to not let the dream of owning a home become a nightmare. And if you do find yourself needing to sell your home anywhere in the US, you want me to connect you with the right agent that can help you in your position, just click that link below, schedule an appointment with me. And if you live in the greater Philadelphia area or in the Pocono Mountains, you want to work with me and my team, click that link below.